This song is from a 1970s band called Gentle Giant. They were known for mostly for doing music that you needed a slide rule to understand. I'm looking around this crowd. You guys all remember what a slide rule is. This is not that, though. This is from an album called The Power and the Glory. And it was a concept album, as they did in the 70s, and it was about a guy who came to power. And needless to say, he was an authoritarian. And this particular song is his people pleading in hope with him. It's called Aspirations. As the sun settles, see your dreams all coming true. It depends on you. Though our times, they are troubled times, show us the way, tell us what to do. As our faith may be aimless blinds, hope our ideals and our thoughts are yours, and believing the promises, please make your claims really so sincere. Be our guide, our light, and our way of life, and let the world see the way we lead our way. Hopes, dreaming that all our sorrows gone. In your hands, holding everyone's a future and fate, it is all in you. Make us strong, build our unity, all men as one, it is all in you. Be our guide.
Good morning. Good morning. And welcome to our worship service at Central Unitarian Church. My name is Josef Machac. My wife and I first came to CUC 35 years ago at the invitation of our friends and neighbors who were already long-time members. We've been coming to CUC regularly since then, along with our daughters who grew up in our RE program and continue to consider themselves as Unitarian Universalists. My wife and I continue to be deeply involved in multiple CUC activities. Besides being a worship associate, occasionally helping make coffee from time to time, I'm involved in our ongoing partnership with the Unitarian congregation in Prague in the Czech Republic. So again, welcome newcomers, members, and friends to our worship service at Central Unitarian Church. CUC is an inclusive community of all ages, which embraces diversity in identity, expression, and spiritual belief. We gather together each Sunday in worship to find inspiration, hope, and renewal among this community of like-hearted individuals. If you are visiting us in person, please be sure to say hello to one of our welcome hosts. Can our welcome hosts raise their hands, Carol and Helen? Thank you. If you are visiting us online, please be sure to click the link provided in the chat and sign our guest book by providing us with your name and contact information. It is my privilege to bring to your attention that today's service will be led by our own CUC member, John Freund. I remember very well the very day that John first arrived and landed at CUC. John has many talents, including, as you already heard, as a musician, a songwriter, as a member of the tech support team, among other things, and as an original thinker. He has never failed to deliver a very creative and original presentation. I can't wait to hear his comments. We invite you to stay after service for coffee, conversation, and connection in the same space. As we prepare to begin our service this morning, we ask those in person to please turn off all your spyware-bearing electronic devices. Our friend Volodya assures us that he is always listening, and we do not wish our service to be disturbed. Now, I would like to bring to your attention some announcements. The next Caregiver and Support Group meeting is tomorrow, Monday, March 24th at 12:30 p.m. Please contact Aviva Weldon if you have any questions. On March 30th, after service, the pastoral care team and religious education will co-host a bingo and bagels event during coffee hour. Please join us for an hour of fun and games. And mark your calendar for CUC's Passover Seder on April 19th. To sign up, contact Pam and Jeff Merrigan to fill out the form in our weekly newsletter. And CUC Spring Fling is coming up next month, and we would like to ask a representative of Spring Fling to tell us more about it.
Thank you, Joseph. Good morning. Good morning. Well, it's spring. Might not feel like it today, but it's spring. And with spring comes Spring Fling. This year, again, we will be on Zoom. Hopefully next year, we will be live again in our new home. The Spring Fling starts at 7 p.m. on April 19th and ends at 7 p.m. on April 26th. This year, our theme is our Blue Boat Home from one of our hymns, but also hopefully our new boat home will be actually in our new home. I got a little poem, a little bit about Spring Fling, so let me read it to you. Hosting a movie, dinner or treats, wine is a winner, so is fine dinner. You could sponsor a hike or a fire at night. Discussions and games might expand our brains. So give it some thought, think up some fun. What skill could you share when Spring Fling is here? Brooke has a bunch of the things to fill out for your donations. If you have any questions about what you would like to donate this year, you can see Brooke and I, and we'll give you some ideas and help you out as best we can. Spring Fling is our largest fundraiser for church. All the money we raise at Spring Fling goes to operating CUC. Not only are we raising money, but I think probably even more important, it's really a great way to make new friends and to spend time with old ones. Brooke and I have made many lifelong friends because of Spring Fling. So hopefully you'll fill out the forms and we'll have a really great Spring Fling. Thanks.
Thank you, Robin. And now, let us more formally begin our gathering. Please turn to a person near you and offer them a warm welcome.
Our centering words today come from the Puerto Rican poet, Lady Lee Andrews, who I've had the pleasure to meet. And I mean no disparagement to my own writing when I say that her poems are everything mine are not. She has a skill for a light touch, few words, that still convey a depth of circumstance and emotion. And this is actually the centering thought on the page before the poems begin in her book, Naturally. Faith is brightest in the dark, and light has called my name. Please rise in body and spirit, or spirit, for our opening hymn, number 347, Gather the Spirit.
Gather the Spirit.
While John is lighting the chalice, please join me in reciting the following words that are displayed. We light this chalice to remind us of our dreams, to nourish our heart, mind, and spirit, to work towards a better world for all, to embrace the whole of our human experience, to honor our past and our gifts of the present, to create a community where each one of us may find healing, transformation, and hope. We are not alone. Our lives are built on shared commitments, giving and receiving together. Our congregation serves as a place where we intentionally practice this shared living, interdependence in a culture that overemphasizes independence. One of the ways we practice our interdependence is through our congregation's finances, which depend on the generous contributions of members and friends. We pause each week to recognize this particular form of sharing, each one of us giving what we can to support the mission and vision of Central Unitarian Church. Your financial contribution helps each and every one of us to grow, to serve, and most importantly, to live lives centered on love. Our offering will now be gratefully received.
Joseph, can you give me the water? There's water. Actually, there's a water underneath. No, there's water underneath. Yeah, thank you.
Pass me the magnum, we'll drink, then we'll make up a reason. The sun may be shining, who cares, as we drink to the rain. Here's to our help, here's to our death, here's to the world as it ought to be, and here's to everyone's happiness and our own private pain. Oh, how can our heroes all hide? Tell me, what would we do if the last train from heaven was funded by rogues and Jesus just never arrived? $1 at a time, we all dream of a richer tomorrow. Then we cry when we look in the papers and we find we're not there. This is our life, there goes our health. Where is the world as it ought to be? And here we stand silent but grim with our backs turned to change. Oh, how can our heroes all hide? Tell me, what would we do if the last train from heaven was funded by roads where Jesus just never arrived? Lively, complacent, while inside we're screaming for mercy. Our pantries are all full of pity, while we're starving for strength. Who'll save our lives? Who'll give us wealth? Who'll put us all where we ought to be? and tell me, when do we sleep? Oh, where can our happiness hide? The years just melt into tears on a face in a window, searching for hope, but Jesus sinks deeper inside. As the hero sinks deeper inside. As the hero sinks deeper inside.
Thank you, John. Please join me in reciting our dedication words based on CUC's mission statement. We dedicate these gifts in service of our mission to welcome all into a home of spiritual diversity that challenges us to become our best selves, to minister to one another in love, and to serve the greater community.
And now we enter into a time of meditation. Taking a moment to share our joys and our sorrows. We do this each week as a way of caring for each other. And we will invite you to share the joys and sorrows you hold in your heart today. If you are online, you may do it in the chat for the service below at the bottom of your screen. For those of you here in person, you may have already lit a candle and submitted a joy or sorrow, which I will read. We will also offer a moment for those here to share names out loud for those you are holding in your heart today. So let us quiet ourselves in order to enter that holy space of listening, breathing in a breath of life, breathing out a breath of peace, feeling present in this moment together as we are breathing together in a breath of life and out a breath of peace. Spirit of life, which goes by many names and no name at all. We are gathered here in your presence in gratitude. We're grateful for spring, for what will soon be color and smells and rain. And we are here with concern for changes that unbalance us. And we look around us to each other for reassurance that comes with remembering that just as in good times, simpler times, it is connection with each other from which we draw strength, community, and where we find and share love. You may stay seated while we sing together hymn number 170. We are a gentle, angry people.
I had a couple of rants written about the last few weeks, but they weren't the kind of rants that you might think they are, that we've grown used to seeing on social media. Oh yes, they were finger-pointing, yet they were pointing the finger at us. All of us. We can blame whoever we want for the state of things, and we will. I forget which band I was in at the time, but we were talking about effects pedals we wanted to buy to make our instruments sound distorted or wavy or fuller or whatever. And one of us joked about the need for a blame shifter pedal for when our mistakes or our ability to listen was noticeable by the audience. The idea being that one could step on the pedal and the audience would look away towards somebody else. The key to our humanity is empathy, and we cannot be empathetic unless we take stock of where we fall short as individuals and where the groups with whom we identify fall short. In short, we're all a mess and we're all beautiful. It's just often hard to see that because we haven't developed the skill to do so. It's so much easier to disengage and make up something about another person to feel better about ourselves, and so that's the habit we fall into. Skill is developed from practice, and practice is nothing but a ritual we repeat until it becomes a habit. The difference between a good and a bad habit is that the former comes from an intent to improve, and the latter is just laziness. Let's make it a ritual every day to try to imagine somebody who is weird to us in some way doing something that is familiar to us. Brushing their teeth, sending their kids off to school with lunch and a kiss, trying to get up the nerve to ask their boss for a raise, getting frustrated with their computer, cleaning a toilet, sobbing uncontrollably at the loss of a loved one. This is how you save humanity, simply by being human and looking for it in others.
So, yeah, I'm just working this through. As the dust settles, see your dreams, all coming true. It depends on you. I would hope that one thing everyone would agree with in that last bit of verse is that the dust is far from settling. In fact, it's being whipped up into a maelstrom. And that's scary. And fear is hands down the strongest motivating emotion because it triggers our drive to remain alive. It is reactive. It requires little effort mentally. Fight or flight, start running or start swinging. That gets complicated when a storm and our fear rises slowly. When a series of events happen that individually cause concern, but are not perceived as a threat, we take note, but do not react. Our innate pattern recognition may see how these events are lining up, and we discount them, saying, we don't want to conflate or overreact. But then the unthinkable happens, and the wrong events happen in the right order, at the wrong time, which is before we have prepared to stop them. And now it's an emergency. Now it's got too much momentum for simple momentary reaction to solve the problem. It's gone from, oops, I dropped a match, to holy crap, the house is on fire. Now we have to work it through. But we feel that sense of hopeless, feckless, perseverant foundering. I can't. If our times, they are troubled times, show us the way. Tell us what to do. An avowed evangelical friend of mine once gave me a book written by a Christian apologist, and the book began by asking the question, If you found yourself lost in a forest and you came across someone who told you they knew a way out, wouldn't you follow them? Now, this was well before smartphones and GPS devices relieved us of actually knowing where we are or where we're going. I hate those things. My mom tells a story of leaving me with her brother when my dad took her on business to Europe in 1968, and I wasn't quite 4 yet. And my aunt and uncle lived in Manville, New Jersey, and they took me to the shore. We had a nice day, and on the way back, my uncle hears a little voice from the back seat saying, "You're going the wrong way." Understandably, he ignored that. He was not about to be listening to a 3-year-old telling him where to go in his state. With every turn would come another refrain of, "You're going the wrong way." A couple turns later, we're at a dead end. And as my uncle tells it, he looked back to see me smirking, and the only reason he let me live was because I didn't say, "I told you so." So if I was lost in the forest, would I want someone to show me out? I'm actually a male who's not afraid to ask directions. But I'd want to know that who I was following was someone who knew better than me, or at least as well. Like the rest of you, I've had a fair amount of joys and sorrows, and I've garnered a certain amount of wisdom, and that wisdom has a limit, though. As you've heard me say before, there's everything out here and everything in here, but there's only so much of me, and there's always more of that. And not only is there a limit to my wisdom, but there's a limit on it. I won't live forever, and there's dementia in my family. So the most important piece of wisdom that I carry is a gratitude for experiencing reality and being a part of it. I am an individual that has autonomy of thought. Everything in here is up to me. That's what autonomy essentially is, freedom of thought. And as much as I've learned about the way the mind works by deconstructing my own mind, it's a bit of a forest in there. And neuroscience has confirmed some of what I've guessed about how thinking and memory work, and it's also called into question some of our basic assumptions about autonomy of self and where that lies. Less than 20 years ago, scanning technology got to the point of being able to watch what was happening in an awake and active person's brain in real time, identifying which parts of the brains were doing what, and even more importantly, the firing sequence of these parts of the brain. When a sitting person, such as yourselves, decides to stand up, you would think that the order of operations would be the conscious mind would fire. I'm going to stand up now. Then the signals would be sent to the muscles that would lean the torso forward, put the hands on the knees, and tighten up those glutes. What was fascinating and also alarming and depressing about this is that it doesn't really work that way. The subconscious seems to be getting things moving first. And then it says, send a memo to the conscious mind and tell it to meet us in the kitchen. Kind of like how a corporate team member comes up with an idea and then lets the CEO think it was her idea. Free will? Maybe not so free. A couple of weeks ago, I'm going to bed early for an important event first thing in the morning, and as I'm getting ready for bed, I get a notification on my phone that says that my mother's blood glucose is low. So I call her to tell her to have a snack. And then I'm asleep, and I'm having a dream. And while that dream is going on, I hear a man's voice saying, "John, John, John." Meanwhile, the dream is ongoing, as if I'm watching TV and someone has just walked into the room behind me and is talking to me. And I think to myself, I need to pay attention to this. And then with a startled gasp, I'm awake and I'm saying, who am I? Where am I? And of course, I'm alone. I look at my phone and it's 4 a.m. on the dot, and I open the phone to reflexively check Mom's sugar. And the monitor app is still open and she looks good. So I close the app, and now I see the alarm screen that was set for 6 a.m., except I never actually set it, having been distracted by calling my mom. Now, I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but this idea that the conscious mind is not running the show, not really surprising. As an ADD person, I'm often surprised and annoyed to discover that I'm futzing around with something that was not what I set out to do 20 minutes ago. And yet my creativity really came online when my conscious mind got out of the way and let my subconscious bubble up to a level where a few songs that I've written happen so quickly and effortlessly, I really just can't take credit for them. And that observation of a relationship within that was more successful than when the two halves of my mind stopped trying to dominate each other, or when they did stop trying to dominate each other. This is where the beginning of the faith that I now have started rising from the ashes of my atheism and my metaphysical, magical thinking. And even if I don't know exactly how to get out of the forest, maybe all who wander are not lost. Maybe I like the forest. Maybe it's not even a forest. And even if I don't need someone to lead me out, who's to say that my way is the only way? So enough about me. Maybe walking with someone else would enhance the experience for both of us. Or maybe we disagree about the way out. Or maybe we both wanted to stay and disagreed about how we were going to do that, forcing us to work through our disagreements without dominating each other, to find a common truth. And that requires some faith and trust that we can do that. If our faith may be aimless, blind, hope our ideals and our thoughts are yours. And believing the promises, please make your claims really so sincere. We are at a point right now where a common truth, not so common. There is no trust without sincerity. We are grappling with who we are as a nation and who we are as humans. Not to hit the blame shifter pedal, but in working through this, I deleted a pretty good rant for right here. And yes, I was pointing the finger at all of us. Some of us are following and enabling a hero who preaches self-gratifying annihilation politics and sets everything on fire. Some of us are standing around waiting for a hero to run toward the fire, as we've been told heroes do. While many of those in a position to pour some water on the flames are still acting as though we just dropped a match. And they're cowed to the point where they can't even face their constituents. I saw a few CUC members on Wednesday night at the town hall meeting over at the community center right here with 6 prospective Democrat gubernatorial, that's probably not the right way to say that, candidates. 6. And while I estimate that about 300 or so people showed up, standing room only, people standing, exactly 1 candidate showed up. And one of the others sent a surrogate. So, where are the heroes? To quote Tina Turner, we don't need another hero. Let me be clear. I'm not equating sides. But if we're going to get serious about promoting and understanding interdependence in our society, then we have to also look at independence. what's happening in our heads. What are the actual dynamics up there? Americans love to talk about rights and freedoms. Jefferson's Declaration of Independence starts exactly where it should, in inalienable rights given by a creator. And he says those rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So, putting aside whether the creator is a God being or just the universe rolling through space, for efficacy, efficiency, and poetry, let's just say that a right is essential, God-given, as in it comes with the territory. And that territory is existence, or life, as Jefferson puts it. And I've come to realize that existence is really the only God-given right there is. And even that one can get messy and screwed up when humans are involved. Not just by shortening the lifespan, but just wait. We are going to keep lengthening lifespans and building life to order. Why? Because we can. But maybe we shouldn't. You have one right, existence. And as a human, part of that package is autonomy of thought, colloquially known as the good sense God gave you. It's not a separate right. If you're human and you exist, then you are in fact thinking. Even if the subconscious mind is doing the thinking, it is incumbent upon me to put effort forth into paying attention to hold up my part of the covenant of a common reality and truth, and to work through this and not just let someone else lead me into the forest. Each decides to deliberate and deliberates to decide to act, to do or do not. With every right, we must acknowledge that there's a responsibility that goes along with it. There should have been a co-requisite Bill of Responsibilities. With that in mind, liberty. Let's drink to liberty. Let's talk about freedom. In your hands, pardon me, probably cat hair. That's a whole nother story. In your hands holding everyone's future and fate, it is all in you. Here's the irony. In this individualistic society, many people act as though freedom is abdicating the power of autonomy to save ourselves the burden of struggling with morality and justice. You know, the inevitable contradictions of existence. It's so much easier to listen to another opinion and say, yeah, that sounds good. That appeals to my bias. I'm going with that. Make us strong. Build our unity. All men as one. It is all in you. If we're following someone who is promising us the power and the glory just for fealty to dear leader, our strength in numbers will be undercut by our individual weakness. If we allow others to do our intellectual and spiritual work, whether that someone is an authoritarian or a neural net on a server farm, we will not be flexing that muscle ourselves, and it will lose its tone and strength. And if we let others do the thinking for us, eventually we will need them to do it. If we indulge in groupthink and take for granted that strength in numbers alone will save us, our debilitated power of autonomous thought will be vulnerable to infection from a virus that will destroy those numbers. And where does that leave us? But I'm on social media. I do my own research. I can say whatever I want because I can. I have the First Amendment backing me up. I'm going to say something that maybe seems radical. People can say everything they want, and provided the laws of physics support it, they can do everything they want. Because they can. Everybody, even Unitarian Universalists. I'll come back to that momentarily. I have freedom of speech. True. But as someone with a degree in electronic media, as a musician, as someone who has spent much of my existence with a microphone in front of my face, this is one place where I'll claim a little expertise and comfort in issuing some social criticism. Bluntly, people who claim they can say whatever they want, when they want, because they have freedom of speech, generally don't understand what freedom is. In our music service a few weeks ago, René Galvan quoted composer Claude Debussy. Music is the space between the notes. What that means is you can play anything. But if you want to make music, then you have to make an autonomous decision to stop playing. You can say whatever you want. But if you want to communicate, you have to know when to choose to shut up. As they say in jazz circles, when in doubt, lay out, man. Leave some space for someone else, or, God forbid, for silence. Here's another statement that may seem radical. Freedom is a limit. A self-imposed limit. Unitarian Universalists are free to believe whatever they want. Of course we are. And we do. Individually, everybody does. But we choose to exercise that independent autonomy of thought in a context of interdependence. That is the essence of covenant. There is nothing preventing us from doing the most antisocial thing we can think of, except that we choose not to. A human being is not responsible for what bubbles up from their subconscious, but we do have a responsibility for what rolls around in there. And we absolutely bear responsibility for the consequences of expressing our autonomous thought in the physical world. The right to pursue happiness is being able to enjoy the expression of our freedom, but that is based on trust, the expectation that we will act in covenant. Covenant is the spaces in our freedom. That idea is also the essence of leadership and fellowship within and without. So how do we know when to act and when to wait? I don't know how to solve this situation in which we find ourselves, but I do know that we cannot take anything for granted. Not our Constitution, not morality. Those things are always in play. And we certainly can't expect to play annihilation politics and solve this without our fellow citizens, even those who are following this authoritarian bent. Because we'll never convince somebody they're wrong. They're going to have to find it out for themselves. And unfortunately, we're going to find out too. My uncle was sure I didn't know what I was talking about until his certitude led him to a dead end. We will not regain any semblance of stability without reestablishing trust among as many of us as possible. That means practicing the freedom to not do something just because we can, especially if it means saying to ourselves, "You're going the wrong way." We have to exhibit the characteristic of heroism called bravery. which is to face something important that scares us and then do it anyway. Who is the hero here? Nobody and everybody. A hero is a character of lore. A hero can be inspirational, but it's not aspirational. We don't need another hero, and we shouldn't try to be one. Just don't let the hero sink deeper inside. Faith of the Larger Liberty, hymn number 287. Pay attention to the second verse.
As the chalice is being extinguished, please join me in saying our chalice extinguishing words based on Sosinsky's covenant. We extinguish this chalice flame, but not our promise to each other, to act with grace, to hold each other in love, to serve this community and our world. This promise of the heart serves as a reminder of how we live together. May it bring joy to our collective lives.
Okay, so I'm going to need your help with this. We've sung this before, some of us, a long time ago. Not too long ago, maybe. This... Let go? Can't come with me. This is a hymn that I wrote challenges. This is a hymn I wrote for a service I did a long time ago about justice. And the essential idea of that was, you know, we always talk about the how the arc of the moral universe bends toward justice. The thing about that is it only does it if we all reach up and grab it and hang on it, okay? And that is a game of numbers. And each of us has to decide that we're going to do that. one is in fact the start of it all. But as the song talks about, it's not the whole story. So it's a pretty simple song. Once I start singing, you get the hang of it. Basically, each line has the same thing to it, same melody.
And one steps off the porch for a walk. Two meet in the square for a talk. Three working the garden, ask for a helping hand. 10 harvest the fruit of the land. A little different here. And 1 is the start of it all. She holds the door and you pass. You give up your turn and go last. We take advantage and celebrate all our wins. And they learn to forgive us our sins. And 1 is the start of it all. 500 march for the cause of those thousands oppressed under law. All of those millions who struggle to find the worth of all of the billions on earth. And 1 is the start of it all. Yeah, 1 steps off the porch for a walk. Yeah, 2 meet in the square for a walk. And 3 work in the garden, ask for a helping hand. And 10 harvest the fruit of the land. And 1 is the start of it all. Yes, 1 is the start of it all. I am the start of it all.
Nice. I think the benediction's already in there. This is your week. Please go when you're ready. Make peace, live peace, be peace, share peace. That's it. Very hard.